do the prayer. Oh, Namo Gurubhaya Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurubhaya Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Gurubhaya Namo Buddhaya Namo Dhammaya Namo Sanghaya Sanje Joda Joge Jonala Janjo Vado Dani Jabso Che Dake Shenso Kebe Sunange Dola Keche Sanje Dobarsho Sanje Joda Joge Jonala Janjo Vado Dani Jabso Che Dake Cheche Kebe Dake Dola Keche Sanje Dobarsho Sanje Joda Joge Jonala Janjo Vado Dani Jabso Che Dake Shenso Dake Cheche Kebe Dake Dola Benje Sanje Doba Isho O Sanje Namje Deva Dan Deve Joda Dembar Joje Sanje Damje Dunye Da Dunye Ye Joda Deva Joje Sanje Damje Dunye Me Ben Deva Da Men Deva Joje Sanje Damje Nye Recha Da Nye Da Deve Danyam La Ne Bar Yo Okay. Welcome everyone. Good morning. So, Buddha says, if we tame the mind, we will have happiness. Then unruly mind or untamed mind bring the suffering. Taming mind bring the happiness. So, and also in one of the sutra, Buddha says, do not commit any non-virtuous actions, commit all the wholesome deeds, tame one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So therefore, it becomes very clear, crystal clear, that happiness and the suffering lies in whether or not we tame the mind. So because of this, because of the reality that we need to tame the mind, Buddha taught vast teaching, different kinds of teaching, there are 84,000, heaps of his teachings. All these are meant for taming and disciplining one's mind. And because, ultimately, finally, happiness is what we seek, and suffering is what we try to avoid from all the, angle. This being the reality that we need to discipline the mind, we need to tame the mind. But then, how do we go about taming the mind? So that is the question. So then, Buddha taught, the discipline, one of the method, for taming the mind is, training in the discipline. And then if you go a little bit higher, then we will see the second, category, that how we go about, disciplining and taming the mind. That is now, Buddha talks about all the, beneficial thoughts, the positive thoughts, the constructive thoughts, and what we also call as, healthy thoughts, right? Then in the third level, then Buddha taught, taught about more deeper way of dealing with our emotions. Then this the teaching on the Vajrayana coming to being. Buddha taught the Vajrayana teachings. For those, this Vajrayana teaching is mainly aimed for those who have completed all the the basic all the teachings, basic practices, which includes, for example, like foundational teachings, and then the Mahayana teachings, right? So so here we are talking about the second level of disciplining our mind, second level of disciplining the mind, that is now involved training in six perfections, training in generating the mind of enlightenment, right? And to train in generating the mind of enlightenment and to train in the six perfections, we need certain conditions, preliminary practices. We need to go through these preliminary practices or trainings. In that way, we make ourselves suitable to train in those higher practices like Vajrayana practices, right? So in the beginning, it becomes crucial and important for us to train in those preliminary practices, right? Preliminary practices which are indispensable and which are important to undertake the further training, like training in six perfections and generating the mind of enlightenment, so on and so forth, right? So so here in order to enhance, when we while we are on the spiritual journey, it becomes important to know and to see the spiritual path that we are training in, from the more from the the holistic angle, and to try to see from the all the angles, because sometimes while we are on the spiritual journey, we focus only on one thing, or forgetting some of the essential points that is being necessary to make our spiritual journey greater smooth and long lasting, right? So therefore the seven limb practice come into being. These seven limb practices are mainly for the accumulation of the merit and for purification practice. Just say I want to do I want to do some kind of meditation. I want to do some kind of the practice or meditation. Just you sit down and just try to right away begin with the practice. This is not how it works. So if we were to make our spiritual practice go smoothly, then we need many conditions. We need the support of the merit. We need the support of the purification practice, without which the practice that we involve in, that we do, become sometimes struggling. So it is. So therefore, it is important to understand from the overall, understanding of the spiritual path, and the spiritual training. Right. So now, therefore, the purification practice and the accumulation of the merit becomes really something important. If we were to develop some spiritual experience, if we were to seek some deeper spiritual experience, or some kind of spiritual realization, we really need the support of the powerful purification practice and the accumulation of merit. Because, as said, the purification practice, because if we do not engage in the purification practice, many of the the what we call as the negativities, the negative karma, and the obstructions, these really this really creates the the problem for cultivating, for developing the experience, right? So therefore, in order to in order to dispel all the obstacles, major obstacles on one's spiritual journey, it becomes important to train in purification practice. At the same time, it also becomes important to accumulate the merit. Now, what accumulation of the merit does? It does fulfilling all the conditions. It does, gathering all the conditions. If, on the one hand, we remove the obstacles, on the other hand, we create all the favorable conditions. If these two are present, one's spiritual journey is perfectly fine, going very well. One should not face this and that much kind of obstacles or interferences on one's spiritual journey. And so we just touched and covered on the topic of the 7 limb practice, and especially we also touched briefly about the prostration and the second limb, which is the making offering, which we have in the last week. We touched briefly. I didn't go into much, try to explain in a lengthy. So today, I think I better, expand this prostration, because in one way, in our daily life, we sometimes do the prostration, most of us, engage in the prostration practice. So therefore, prostration also becomes something really important. So last week, we talked about the prostration, we talk about the what is prostration, right? And then the divisions of the prostrations, right? And then we also talked briefly about the benefits of the prostration, right? So today, and also we talk about how do we visualize when we do the prostration, because when we talk about prostration, we are actually doing the bodily prostration, verbal prostration, and the mental prostration. So while we do the prostration, these three, prostration are also involved, So the visualization that we do during the prostration is, when we do the prostration, we touch the, as said, with the this, and then fold it, and two thumb fingers put inside, and then touch on the crown, and then here at the, the eyebrow and the throat, and at the heart, right? So, so when we do this kind of, engage in this kind of prostration, and then, while, physically, while we, do the prostration, we also try to recite some holy words, some holy, words or lines, or the praise to the Buddha, Tharva Confession, and all the lineage masters, the merit filled, we try to, do this. And then it is not only you who is doing prostration, you are surrounded by all the, the beings, all the 6 types of beings, all the beings. You are surrounded by all the beings. And then when we do the prostration, then it is not you alone, you are surrounded by all the beings, and you also, visualize yourself as limitless number. And then, we have all the rebirth. We have taken a limitless kind of rebirth, a limitless rebirth since beginningless time. So all this, all the forms of your rebirth, we can, visualize in the form of human beings, not in the form of respective, 6 type of beings. In the form of human beings, then we, then we do the prostate, we do engage in prostration, So because it helps us to purify, in our beginner's lifetime, sometimes we have, take the birth as a animal in the hell, and then, as a human being and a god, in these, rebirth, we also have accumulated, the negative karma, so which we need to purify. So by doing this kind of visualization, help us to purify the negativities that we have accumulated in our previous rebirths. And then you can also do the, the, like, the visualization, like, you emanate the limitless number of yourself, and then in the each of the limitless number of yourself, a limitless head, and then limitless tongue. With this, we are doing the prostate, we are physically doing the limitless number of prostration. Verbally, we are doing the limitless number of verbal prostration. Mentally, we are doing the limitless number of prostration. In this way, the merit that we create is boundless, immeasurable. So this is how we, do the prostration. Actually, there are 2 kinds of visualization as taught here, as discussed now. So in this way, with this kind of visualization, then we do engage in prostration, right? So this one about the visualization. Now we talk about the prostration. You can also do in conjunction with the. When you do the prostration, we are also doing the 6 perfections. We are also doing the 6 perfections. So it is important to understand that it is not just prostration, it involves other practices as well, like 6 perfections. Now, for example, when we do the prostration yourself, and also you make others engage in prostration, that is the perfection of generosity, the perfection of giving. Now, in the prostration, when you do the prostration with, correctly, in a correct way, doing the prostration in a correct way, and also your mind, is not motivated just only for yourself, but for the sake of all the beings. This is the perfection prostration, which which has the quality of the practice of ethics. Now, the perfection of patience. Patience is, so this is, I think sometimes, really, important, because sometimes, when we try to engage in some prostration, maybe, 10 times or 20 times or 30 times, we sometimes, we develop some kind of pain here and there. And then sometimes, due to the hot weather or due to the cold weather or due to, certain, external conditions, which then, creates some kind of, undesirable situation. So, so we, we forsake all these hardships, and forsaking these hardships and, bearing the hardship is the practice of patience, the generosity, the perfection of patience. Then joyous effort, the perfection of joyous effort. Now, when we do engage in the prostration, we recall the qualities of these, enlightened beings, the merit field. We recall the qualities of the merit field, and we try to develop the devotion and the faith. And then we try to, this kind of devotion, we try to not get distracted towards other, external things, external phenomena, not to get distracted from this devotion and faith towards other external things. So that is the perfection of joyous effort. Now, the next is the perfection of samadhi, single-pointed meditative concentration. Now, when we do in the prostration, we try to single-pointedly focused, try to single-pointedly focused, immersed, absorbed in what we are doing. So there's a degree of, honesty with ourselves, the degree of sincerity, the purity, because we are single-pointedly focused on what we do. So that is the perfection of meditative concentration. Now, the perfection of wisdom is, when we do the prostration, the prostration and the meditation, all these three are devoid and empty of the solid appearance. Because things normally, when we see the things everywhere from the morning until the even in the dream, everything is appeared as solid, independent. So in reality, there is no solid thing, but because then we, the solid thing appears to our perceptions, the consciousness, the sense consciousness, this perception, and also at the mental level too, everything, each and everything is appeared as independent, solid. But in reality, the so-called solid does not exist. The way thing appears and the way things really are contradict. Things appear to us in a solid way, but in reality, if we try to investigate, if we try to see, There's no such thing called solid. And then in worst case, when the things begin to appear as, some solid, then our mental, our mind project it to be really the solid, just as it appears to our eye consciousness, eye, sound, whatever, the touch, including, the forms, external form. All these things are appeared as some kind of solid, reality. Then, in worst case, there's a mind called grasping. The mind grasps at it, and then which then brings the craving. Craving brings which then brings in attachment, the anger, then many of the delusions. These delusions give rise to craving. Craving give rise to pain and suffering. So these things are beautifully stated in the great, the master Chandrakirti and master Dharmakirti. These two are the two great Nalanda. For Buddhists, these are highly realized beings. But in the academic level, they are really are true professors, are brilliant professors. They not only teach themselves, they practice. What they practice, they teach. So these are the amazing and brilliant professors. But for the Buddhists, these are highly, realized beings. Right. So the merit field, yourself, and the prostration, all are empty of inherent existence, solid existence, independent existence. The more we find, but then when we try to see, then we learned, we see that these delusions are totally, the no basis, unfounded, no basis, just a projection, projected, the mind project. These delusions projected the ways of seeing the things. The deeper we search, nothing could be found. Right. So this is the perfection of wisdom. So even in the prostration, we see, the 6 perfection is being involved. We can practice this. We are indeed, actually, reality. We are also, bringing 6 perfections, training in 6 perfections when we, engage in the prostration practice. So that's, not a easy, not a kind of that simple practice. It is a profound practice. The prostration practice is a profound practice, right? Then the next, what we are going to understand, what we are going to try to understand is the benefits of the doing prostration. Now, when we do there are many benefits, but principally, and mainly, there are 3 or 4 main benefits. One is we are creating the causes. We are creating the virtue to become a universal monarch, Chakravarti. And then the second benefit is that it helps us to purify the lot of negative karma, obscurations, purify. so long as we are not be able to purify, if we don't purify, sooner or later, the unpleasant result is awaiting for us. Because, when we talk about negative karma, these things, sometimes, we cannot see with our naked eyes. But then, it all remain in a mental continuum in the form of imprint or seed, kind of the subtle energy, which then brings the result when encountered with the appropriate and suitable conditions, then immediately give rise to result. That is unpleasant result or painful experience. Right? So it helps to purify a lot of negative karma and obscurations. Number third benefit is, now that is something important. I'm going to touch on this a little bit. That it helps, the benefit of doing prostration, is that it helps to overcome, reduce the pride or ego. So that is special. Now, first we need to understand, how through prostration practice our negative karma, the obscurations, these are being purified. How are we to understand? Because it is through understanding, a deeper understanding, that it gives us the conviction to develop the urge and desire to engage in the prostration practice. Now, you see, we talk about it helps to reduce the pride. It helps to overcome the pride. Right. Therefore, first of all, to understand this, we need to understand what is pride, what is ego. That's something important. What is pride? Now, when we talk about the pride, then, we are really dealing and talking with the Buddhist psychology, the richness, the rich resources, these, some of the greatest, the Nalanda masters have produced such a brilliant work on how to challenge our emotions, how to address our emotions when it arises within ourselves, and to understand the pride, the ego, like these things. We need to understand what is delusions, because these, the pride, jealousy, and the anger, hatred, attachment, all these are included under the category of the delusions. What is delusion? The delusion is such that the moment it arises within ourselves, in our mind, it creates the mental disturbance. That is delusion. That is how we define the delusion. It creates disturbance. So that is the nature of the delusion. Now, that means the pride, the moment the ego or the pride arises within ourselves, it creates mental disturbance. The peace of mind is being lost. The peace of mind is being replaced by ego and or pride, the sense of pride. The sense of pride, when we talk about the sense of pride, what is the pride? The pride is, it is a kind of, it is the mental state. The pride, is the inflated view of oneself, the inflated view of oneself that arises as a result of considering one's qualities, such as wealth, the beauty, the education, the titles, the status, the race, so and so forth. But then, what is the real cause of pride? What is the real cause of pride? The real cause of the pride, is again grasping at I, solid I, and grasping at solid I, and grasping at solid mind. This, either grasping at the solid I or grasping at the solid mind, which then induce the sense of pride. So we understood what really is the pride. And then this is the pride. What is the function of the pride? What it does? What function it does? The function is, for oneself, it creates the obstacle for obtaining, for acquiring the knowledge from others, the teachings from others, the instruction from others, deeper instructions from others. Because of the sense of pride which hinders in cultivating these spiritual experiences, or instructions, or teachings, or other forms of knowledge. So it's a big, the problem for one. It's a big problem for oneself. Once the pride arises, then for other people, what it does once the pride develops, our way of looking at other people is some kind of looking down, or disrespectful. That disrespectful and looking down upon others is being involved in this sense of pride. So this is a function. What is the nature? What is its nature? Its nature is harmful. Harmful. How it is harmful? Because the mere it occurs within ourselves. The peace of mind is lost. And here, when we develop the pride, out of the sense of pride, we express it in the form of physical action. or in the form of verbal action, right? So when, out of the sense of pride, we express in physical form, which may be harmful to others. Then when it is something harmful, then you create the karma. That karma is negative karma. What is the function of the negative karma? What really is, this negative, the karma does? It produces suffering, a hostile situation, hostile atmosphere, tense atmosphere it creates. So therefore, pride gives rise to suffering. Similarly, when the pride occurs within our mind, we also express in the verbal, we try to, sometimes, we do the action motivated out of pride, sense of pride. Motivated out of sense of pride, we use the maybe unpleasant words. That is now the verbal, the speech or verbal action. That is karma. That is negative karma. And then negative karma, when causes, conditions come together, it gives rise to the unpleasant situation, unpleasant experience. That is suffering. So, in a way, in the case of the result, it is suffering. The nature is harmful. When the moment it occurs, it destroys the peace of mind. So therefore, not much use. So this is what we call as the pride, or sometimes, in the translation, it is sometimes used as self-important, or ego or pride. Now here we have 7 divisions of pride. Now let us talk about each of the pride. There are 7 kinds of pride, or self-important mind. The first one is the pride over inferiors. What is pride over inferiors? The pride over inferiors means, I'm, in terms of education, or in terms of status, in terms of wealth, in terms of beauty, in terms of, say, lineage or race, I'm superior than these lower beings, lower person. That is the pride over inferiors. You have some lower person, you have some person who are lower than you in terms of education, wealth, status, so on and so forth. So it's, your mind is, once this kind of, pride arises, it, your mind is puffed up, your mind is inflated. It's like a balloon. This is the first pride. The second pride is the pride over equals. The pride over equals. The pride over equals means, The pride over equals means now you have few people, or many people. Now in education, the wealth, the social status, and in terms of bravery and all this, whatever, we feel that once this second pride arises, I mean, if we feel that I am better, I'm superior than these, those people who are equal to me. That is the second pride, the pride over equals. The third pride is the pride over superiority. Maybe, say, maybe I'm a low person, or I don't have much, say, or, some education. My education is, not that high, not too low, just a middle education, And also the wealth, it's a, say, I belong to middle class family, in terms of, the, physical outlook, I'm okay. But then, there are more, higher people. There are people higher than me in terms of education, the wealth, social status, and the outlook, physical outlook. And then if you think I am more superior than these high people, then that mental state is called the pride over superior. Okay, the pride over superior. The third, the fourth pride is the pride over, identity. The pride over identity. The pride in identity. I better use, pride in identity. Pride in identity means now this is somewhat maybe in the future we discuss more about this, pride in identity is a little bit, maybe, some of you may struggling in, to understand this, the pride in identity. So the pride in identity means, your aggregates, the physical form you have, feeling you have, you believe these to be independent and solid, and based on this solidness, appearance of your physical body or your feeling, your mental state, so on and so forth, your mind is again puffed up. Your mind becomes inflated. Your mind becomes inflated. That is the pride in identity. This is the fourth pride. The fifth pride is pretentious pride. Pretentious, we call it pretentious pride. Pretentious pride means, for example, sometimes, we do kind of, we try to do some meditate, we engage in, some kind of activity, wholesome activity, good, activity. And then, and especially, when we develop some experience, little experience, as a result of engaging in meditation, we develop some experience, and then we think that this is such a vast, really a tremendous, powerful, experience. And then we, based on that, we develop the sense of pride that I have developed such a huge, deeper experience. That is the pride, the pretentious pride. The next is Fifth right. The next is what is called as emulating pride. Now, number 6, emulating pride. Emulating pride means, say, how to say? Emulating pride means, then we try to compare with, those, higher beings. We try to compare that, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or spiritual beings, realized beings, or highly knowledgeable beings, and we think, these are, great beings, but I'm not further than them. I'm close to them. I'm almost equal to them. I'm really closer to them. If you, based on that, we develop the sense of, the pride. That pride is called emulating pride. Emulating pride. Number 6. The number 7 is the pride is called wrong pride. Wrong pride. Wrong pride means, say, say, for example, I give the discourse. I'm just trying to deal with some discussions with all of you, right? Then, if my mind is influenced by the mundane thoughts, the worldly thoughts, I'm giving this, I'm having the discussion, Dharma discussion with you all to impress others, or to, or to become myself pretty popular, or to get some resources offering. With this kind of thinking, I do that, and then, I do the Dharma discussion, in a maybe beautiful way, impressive way, and then based on that, I develop the sense of, I give something wonderful teaching, the wonderful discourse. That is pride. That is wrong pride. And also sometimes, say some people, they engage in, tell lying, making the false claim, telling lie, and then think that, they have done something really, a proud thing, really, heroic, deeds. But in reality, this is pride. This is, a wrong pride, we call it. And also like this, the same, the killing, killing in the war, many people have been killed, and then sometimes the one who killed many people, that, is being called as hero. But in reality, and then, develop some degree of pride. That is the wrong pride. So therefore, all this pride, in all this 7 pride, whatever the pride, all this brings the pain. It creates a, undesirable situation. For oneself, one suffer. For other self, it also brings pain for other people. Because it brings pain for other people, this, the pain, the act of, the act of giving pain or suffering is karma, negative karma. This negative karma And sooner or later, when causes conditions come together, it brings to the result, unpleasant result. Unpleasant experience, pain or suffering. So when we do the prostration, when we engage in the kind of the prostration, we engage in the physical prostration, we engage in the verbal prostration, we engage in the mental prostration. Now, how it helps us to remove, to purify the negative karma. Now, for example, right, when we do the physical prostration, physical prostration, when we do the physical prostration, when we engage in the physical prostration, what it does is, now, say, out of pride, out of sense of pride, out of sense of pride, I expressed in physical action, and I create certain degree of, I create negative karma, right? I create negative karma. When I do the physical prostration, it helps to purify that negative karma. Purify. So that the negative karma that is motivated by the pride, sense of pride, the energy is deactivated, destabilized, so that it cannot bring result, unpleasant result. Similarly, when we do the verbal prostration means when we do the prostration, we use the the holy words, we use the praise, we use the name of the Buddhas. When we use this, verbal prostration, it helps us to purify what kind of negative karma it does purify. The negative karma that is being purified is, again, out of the sense of pride, we use the verbal, we express in the verbal, out of sense of pride, say, oh, I'm better, I'm better than all of you, I'm important person, at least you have to respect me, you have to obey me. In this also, create negative karma. This negative karma is in the form of seed and energy, subtle energy. Now, when we do the verbal prostration, it purifies this negative karma, this kind of negative karma. Now, same, the mental prostration. Mental prostration means now, when we do the prostration, we have all the, we try to recall the qualities of this, the enlightened beings. We try to recall the qualities, the immense, the infinite qualities of the merit field, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas. And by recalling the qualities, it helps us to develop the devotion, the faith in them. This faith and devotion now helps to purify the karma, the mental karma. What kind of mental karma? Now, you see, we develop the sense of pride, although you don't need to express it, you don't need to, but in your heart, we develop, we arise, we develop the sense of pride, either of seven, the pride, I'm supreme, I'm far better, So, yeah, this kind of negative karma is purified. And we engage in the mental prostration. So this is how the prostration purifies those negative karma motivated by sense of pride and ego or self-importance. Then when the karma is being purified, what happened? When the karma is purified, negative karma is purified, what happened? What happened is good things will happen to you. Good things will happen to us. Right now, sometimes we go through this problem, that problem, struggle here and struggle there. Why? Because there is the obstacle in a mind stream, mental continuum. There's the obstacles. These obstacles, blossom, maturated. When these negativities are maturated, they're struggling, pain and suffering. Not only this, when we do the prostration, when we engage in prostration, whether you do the short length prostration or full length prostration, it doesn't matter. Still, you are doing prostration. What really happens is, because when we do the prostration with the 6 perfections, as discussed earlier, in a right prostration way, in the right way, and then we recite the words, the nice words or beautiful words, or the praise or the homage to this enlightened beings or the matter field. And then also by recalling the qualities, infinite number of qualities that they have. When we try to recall, it helps to develop the devotion and faith. This devotion and faith helps us to receive the blessings from the merit field. Now we may wonder, what is blessing? Again, now the question comes, what is blessing? You receive the blessing in your body and in your mind. Although there are different kinds of blessing, but the most, effective and powerful blessing that we do receive from this merit field is that we receive the merit field, we receive the blessing in your body. That means we have less sickness, we have less problem in our body, we have long life. All our strength, resolve, the strength, the bodily strength, the power, all these are increases. That is how we do receive the blessings from the merit field. When this is the blessing receiving in your body. Now, when we receive the blessing in your mind, how do we receive the blessing in your mind? Right now, our mind is untamed. Our mind is undisciplined, unruly mind. When we receive the blessing, the preceding, the previous mental state, which is unruly, which is untamed, is transformed into the disciplined mental state, happier mental state, joyful mental state. That is what we meant by receiving the blessing in your mind. That's why When we try to visualize the marriage field, we do visualize the nectar coming into your body and mind, filling your body and mind. The nectar is nothing, it's a form of blessing. What are the blessings? The blessing of the body, speech, mind, and then what we call as the power, the blessing of the power, the blessing of the effortless activity and effortless enlightened deeds. All these 5 blessings we are receiving, both in your body and especially to your mind, so that your mind is matured, your mind is blossomed into the untamed, into the tamed mental state. Otherwise, we don't know, when we talk about how the blessing, received in the mind. Yeah, your previous mind, which is untamed, unruly, is transformed into the more joyful, more tamed, more peaceful mental state. That is receiving the blessings. So in this way, prostration is not that simple. It's a profound. If you know how to understand, if you know how to do the practice, because you see, many practices can be implemented, can be conjoined with the prostration practice. It's the 6 perfections, for example, like 6 perfections, because the 6 perfections are the fundamental training in the Mahayana Buddhist. What practice is more profound than engaging in 6 perfections in the Mahayana, or causal teaching, causal vehicle? So in this way, it's really, really precious, really wonderful prostration. Many great masters, the early great masters, also praised the prostration practice. Therefore, if you look into the prostration also involves both purification as well as accumulation of merit. If you look into the, say, purification practice, 35 confession, right? It's a very popular practice. It's really wonderful practice. There are many, many great commentaries written on this 35 confession practice, purification practice. It shows, it indicates the importance of engaging in the purification practice like prostration. It's a respect. It's a form of doing, when we do this out of devotion, when we do this is a form of respect. This is a form of respect, right? So long as the devotion, when we engage in prostration, physical, verbal, mental prostration, there is no room for arising the sense of pride. There's simply no room for arising. All the experience tell us. Even in the, we don't think that, with the prostration, very simple, it's a kind of, a vajayana, we don't need vajayana. Vajayana definitely need. Thinking that prostration, 7 practices are not needed in the vajayana is a huge distortion, huge mistake. Vajayana especially needed. One day, in the Vajrayana, for example, right, when the great Milarepa, he just tried to escape from, the Marpa, Lama Marpa. So then he tried to, approach, went to see the, Marpa student, Lama Mokchuku Doji. And then from the very far away, Milarepa did the prostration 3 times, to the Marpa student, Mokshuku Doji. Mokshuku Doji, from the very far away, he said that the way the Milarepa did the prostration, it's something, something that of the tradition coming from Naropa, Master Naropa. Because in the Naropa, in Master Naropa's, tradition, the full length prostration is being done. Yeah, so then later Naropa, the Muchukudaji, he said to, yes, I will give the teaching, but, just you bring some, hailstorm to some of my, neighbor, people, they are bringing the, they are bullying to my people. So you bring them some hailstorm. So he did, Milarepa did the hailstorm. And then thousands of animals are being killed. Animals are being killed. So then Milarepa thought, now I'm, my life is something worthless. No, not much, point in staying, because I'm creating more negative karma. I have already done, earlier, and now I'm creating more negative karma. My goodness, yeah, that's pretty a big deal for me. Yeah, they said. Then his, Mochuko Doje, said, Mochuko Doje closed his eyes. Then he said, then he immersed in deep meditation. Then he snapped. In the tradition of Naropa, even the greatest sinner can become enlightened, can be enlightened in a single lifetime. Anybody can achieve enlightenment. The only thing is whether we make the effort or not. Otherwise, we all have same potential, infinite potential. We all have. There's nothing lacking. What really makes us miserable is our delusion, like pride. This makes our life miserable. Otherwise, if you look from the positive and holistic, we have such abundant and infinite, the potential. So, that means we can do the prostration. If we can achieve the enlightenment, of course, we can also do the prostration. So therefore, prostration really becomes something immense benefit, immense helpful in purifying all many of the negative karma. And it also helps to develop the deep devotion. It's a kind of the respectful towards those who have gone beyond those, all the objects of veneration. So with this, now I think we are approaching the time. We are nearing the time. So that's all about the prostration. So I will stop here. If you have some questions, I will take. Otherwise,
Dạ, ai có câu hỏi xin gõ vào khung chat ạ. So those who have questions for Van, then please type them down in the chat box below. Seems like we don't have any questions, Van.
Yeah,
So we move on
yeah.
to the dedication today.
Okay. Okay. Jiva de Yoda Lama Sanje Rugane Dova Chiyama Deva Teliaza Lava Janjo Sankarim Boche Amaje Bana Joche Jeva Nyaba Me Paya Mani Kondo Deva Yanda Dava Rinpoche, Maye Bana Ye Gyoji, Jewa Nyamba Me Baya, Kone Kondo Deva Risho, Tongwa Dani Deva Da Chenpa Dani Ripa Ye, Dani Senje Tamji Ye, Nena Gyunja, Shi Yo Je, Azazo Sazo Jungwa Jimbo Da Nanga Jindo Da Baya Zenje Da Da Me Baye Nama Nizi Shi Yasho Jizi Nanga Neva Da Ando Desi Ne Yawa Desi Da Ne Ne Yuni Duye Do Nye Sewa Sho Jizi Lama Doji Jin Ma Jo Duwe De De Ma De Tang Da 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 Me Ba Da Da Ye De Ge Shen La Dang Ba Ye Du Ge Den Da Den Ba Xin Ge La Nyam Ye Ba Ye Ji Tar Gen Ba Da Gong Du Sang Bo Den Ya De Xin De Tai Da Geng Ge Je So Da Do Chi Ye Wan De Da Dang Je Ra Do De So She Ye Wa Dang Je Ye Mo Wa Gang Na Cho Do Nga Ba De Da Ge Ge We Sa Wa De Ge Yang Sang Bo Je Je Ra Do Nga Wa Ye Ya wa gen da ja be da ja wa ze ba me ze ye ma du ze yang da de ben shu ge shin ye she sha be du je mo wo dian ba yu da ye na da de yang da be shi ma de chang sen zhu zhu ren jie de de du yu wa xi yan ba de ma ba da xin ye re ma dong bo da de shu da de yang da be zhi zhi ji de den zhou bei me zi san san de ye ge zu bei bei nian ge nian gu ge xin nian nan jie nu tin de ye nan ge xin da sha re xiu me zhong se xian jie wei jin lao da den de lo wa me bei den ba da da ge ba san da bei tu da ge me bei ten jun de lan de ba re xiu 明明在外的人间里，谁只没见别我莫讲别样。看见这位中眼中阿爸，路上他被下巴说话的。哦，
Thank you, Van, for your beautiful teaching.
哦，
Xin cảm ơn thầy.
Xin cảm ơn mọi người.
Thì bài pháp ờ, rất là quý hôm nay.
Dạ, xin cảm ơn mọi người.
Dạ, xin cảm ơn mọi người.
Um, Chị Trang có muốn nói về cái buổi quán đảnh?
Yes, yes.
Dạ mọi người xin nán lại một chút, tại chị Trang có một số đôi lời với mọi người.
Đầu tôi cho Trang qua cái hệ thống thường chưa?
Already chị Trang, mọi người đang nghe chị Trang nói đó.
Vẫn nghe hả? Tức là xin thông báo với tất cả mọi người, nếu mà đã chưa nghe và chưa có lên Viber đó, thì thứ Bảy tuần sau, thầy thầy Ken Rinpoche Galton sẽ ban cái quán đảnh Kim Cang Thác Đọa. Đây là lần đầu tiên Ngài ban quán đảnh qua Zoom, và Ngài sẽ đồng thời sẽ truyền lung cho mình cái chú trăm âm, và Ngài sẽ hướng dẫn về cái sự quán tưởng và thiền định. Cho nên là xin thông báo với mọi người là mình sẽ bắt đầu lớp vào lúc 6 giờ chiều ở đây, tức là 8 giờ sáng ở bên Việt Nam, vào ngày Chủ nhật bên Việt Nam nhé, và tuần tới. Tức là thay vì thầy Sandu giảng thì cùng ngày với thầy Sandu, thì thay vì thầy Sandu giảng thì ngày Ken sẽ giảng Pháp và sẽ ban quán đảnh. Rồi sau đó những tuần tiếp theo sau đó là cũng vào Chủ nhật bên Việt Nam, thứ Bảy ở bên Mỹ, thì ngài Galton sẽ tiếp tục giảng về bát nhã tâm kinh. Dạ hôm trước thầy giảng mà chưa xong, cho nên là ban tổ chức đã thỉnh ngài để giảng tiếp. Dạ, cho nên là cái thứ nhất là cái quán đảnh mà về chú Trăm Âm, thì xin mọi người thông báo truyền bá cái thông tin này đến với tất cả bạn bè người thân, là tại vì cái thời điểm này là cái thời điểm mà thật sự là mình cần phải trải nghiệm, là mình cần phải tu tập để mà thanh tịnh hóa những cái nghiệp chướng từ vô thủy kiếp của mình, như thầy Sandu mới giảng đó. Cho nên là đây cái cơ hội rất là quý hiếm mà ngài Ken Galton sẽ cho mình cái quán đảnh và truyền lung cho mình. Và nếu mà quý vị nào mà chưa tham gia vào cái nhóm mà cộng tu chú Trăm Âm thì nên tham gia, tại vì mỗi tuần mỗi thứ Bảy ở bên Việt Nam, 8 giờ sáng mình có 3 tiếng đồng hồ để mà cùng nhau tụng chú Trăm Âm. Thì thật sự là cái năng lượng khi mà mình cộng tu như vậy nó rất là mãnh liệt, nó mãnh liệt hơn là mình tự ngồi ở nhà mình tụng một mình. Cho nên là nếu mà quý vị nào mà các đạo hữu nào mà chưa có tham gia thì Trang khuyên là nên cố gắng tham gia, và không cần phải ngồi cả 3 tiếng, mình tham gia được lúc nào thì hay lúc đó, nhưng mà nên vào. Dạ, xin cảm ơn tất cả mọi người. Dạ, hẹn gặp lại tuần tới. Just want a couple announcements. So starting next Saturday, instead of Van Songdu's teaching, Galton Ken Rinpoche will give the Varasattva empowerment and Lung transmission. So it starts 1 hour earlier. So instead of 6 p.m. here in the U.S., instead of 7 p.m. in the U.S., it'll be 6 p.m. So start same day in the U.S., Saturday, at 6 p.m. California time. So he will also give the visualization. He will guide us through the visualization for the 100 syllable mantra, and also a meditation. So this is a rare opportunity. So if you can participate, that would be great. And if you haven't been following, we've been having a group chant every Friday US time, every Friday starting at 6 o'clock, and it's at 3 hours. But you're not required to participate the whole 3 hours. You can participate as much as you can, as long as you can. But we are tracking the count, and if you recall, Galton Rinpoche did say that we need to complete 100,000 100 syllable mantra in order to receive, and actually not just receive, additional higher tantric training teaching, but also it helps in purification, just like Ben Somdu just taught us. So purification, 100 syllable is a great tool and then also the following week after the Vajrasattva empowerment, it will be the continuation of the Heart Sutra. Ken Rinpoche will continue teaching that for at least 2 weeks, maybe more. But so join us, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Dạ, xin chào tất cả mọi người. Dạ, xin cảm ơn tất cả mọi người. Hẹn gặp lại.